At 0-2, I said, don't worry. Owner, GM, coach, quarterback, A+ at all of them. They're fine. And here they come. Cleveland's a mess. The Steelers are limited offensively, and Lamar Jackson would be my MVP. I cannot believe how good Lamar Jackson is. The fact that everybody doesn't love him, I don't get. The kid's incredible. 4th straight win, and 4th straight game. His passer rating is 114. I mean, that is a streak. They lead the NFL in rush offense. Yeah, Derrick Henry's part of it, and so is Lamar.
Yeah. I think what Colin said was interesting about Lamar being the MVP. It's so interesting because we're getting such inconsistent quarterback play around the entire NFL. And at this point, considering what Lamar has been doing all season, he hasn't really had any like true clunkers, for loss of a better way to put it, that would probably separate him from the MVP conversation. It feels like it still feels like it should be between Lamar, Jaden Daniels, and potentially Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold didn't play unbelievable against the Jets the last game, so you'll have to kind of see if he can kind of continue to stay in that race. The problem is though that people see that team as being stacked, kind of not unlike what happened with Brock Purdy and the 49ers. So you could see why it would make sense, honestly, to put Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson up there. But at this point, you would have to probably give it to Lamar. You know, Lamar would probably be technically the front runner. Obviously, it's super early, right? 6 weeks in. But this is when those conversations really kind of start to heat up, and it feels like Lamar would be the front runner for that. I mean, Vegas still has Patrick Mahomes there, and that makes no sense. I understand they're undefeated and all of that, but looking at what Lamar's had to do to win games compared to what Patrick Mahomes has done, it's just night and day. It's night and day. You can't even compare the two. And like I always say, I say this in so many videos because it matters so much. We're not focused on any of these other previous years. And so it's like if we were looking at Lamar and Patrick Mahomes and looking at just this season alone, and we had no idea who these guys were, no idea what their accomplishments were, no idea what their playoff record was, how many Super Bowls they won, you would say Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And you would say that's not even close. You would say, and it's not even close. You would say, I'm taking Lamar Jackson every single day. Again, if you knew nothing about anything that has happened in the past, you would say Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson. I think they had such a great game plan versus the Commanders. They stuck to what they knew and what they know to do, right? Lamar played a great, clean, nearly perfect game. That one interception was honestly just kind of bad luck. I know it wasn't a perfect throw, but it just felt a little bit more unlucky that it kind of went up and was able to be intercepted. I don't really, it was on a spectrum between 100% Lamar's fault and 100% not his fault. It was closer to not his fault, right? It was closer to more fluky than anything. So it's just like those things just happen throughout a season of football. So I won't hold his feet to the fire for that. I mean, they struggled early to get the offense going. Then they got some nice, easy throws for Lamar, which then opened up everything else, right? For their first touchdown drive, right, he was able to go 4 for 5, and it was very much just pitch and catch, which was good. And then when the Commanders were kind of starting to regain momentum and have things going, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens were able to close out the half with a big touchdown, right? Like, all of those things really matter because this game felt differently throughout the game, right? At times it felt really close, and it was like, oh man, the Commanders are coming. And then at other times it felt like, oh no, the Ravens got this. And then it felt like the score kind of opened up because I forget what the largest lead was, if it was 14 or 10, I forget at this point. But there was a time when it felt like, okay, this game is out of reach. But then there was other times when it felt like, no, striking distance. If the Ravens, get stopped here and the Commanders get the ball, here we go. So, which was good, which is good to see the Ravens be able to play consistently throughout the game, throughout this, because we've seen them have a lot of games like that where it felt like, oh man, the Ravens could run away with this, then oh man, the Ravens could lose this game, right? The Dallas Cowboys probably the best example of that. So it was good to see them play consistently throughout the game. But Derrick Henry, obviously an absolute tank. 24 carries, 132 yards, just a beast. 5.5 yards per carry. I mean, he's just a monster, right? Like, he is just, him and Lamar are two of the ultimate cheat codes, right? So having them together is almost like, people would be like, if we were playing backyard ball, people would be like, okay, Lamar and Derrick Henry can't be on the same team, right? Like, kids would be fighting on the playground, be like, no, they can't be on the same team. Like, they would never be allowed to play together. It would just be not fair. So to have them together is such a luxury, and it's actually kind of frustrating from a fan perspective, because you're just like, why could you not have had Derrick Henry 5 years ago, right? When he was truly in his prime, or maybe 5 years ago would be too young, because then Lamar wouldn't be Lamar, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I think this has been such an interesting season for the Ravens, because they had a tough loss week 1. Then they had a brutal loss versus the Raiders, which, seeing how the Raiders are playing, that loss only ages more worse, right? And then they have the game against the Cowboys, which they look like, oh my God, here come the Ravens. And then they somehow almost blow it, right? And then they or what did I just say? The Cowboys. I'm sorry. Against the Cowboys, and then they almost blow it, right? And you're just like, okay, where are we, where are we going from here? What do these victories mean? And then they blow out the Bills, and then that now feels much more convincing, much more like, here we are, we got this, we are a dominant team in the NFL. But still, understandably so, question marks, right? Because the record is what the record is, and the way how the game's unfolded, we're still not 100% consistently. And then you have this game against the Commanders, which I think are definitely a better team than most people realize, and it was just a really good, complete game, right? They looked like the team that has turned a corner in terms of understanding who they are, understanding their identity, can overcome any negatives that come their way. There was a couple moments when I think Lamar was kind of scrambling for a while, and then ultimately he ended up getting sacked, and you see him kind of like slamming the ball on the ground, right? You can still see some of that frustration, some of that angst, which I would love to see him evolve out of, right? Because I would love for him just to kind of get to the point where he's like, yeah, whatever, that happens, football, let's go on to the next play, which I think is really what a lot of the all-time greats embody. And I think it would help him take himself even further to the next level, if that's even possible, especially come time playoffs. But that is always ultimately who this team, what Lamar Jackson and this team will be, looked at through the lens of. Like, all these games, like, even let's say they blew out the Commanders, let's say they blow out every single team this season from this point on, it'll still be like, okay, let's see what they do in the playoffs, right? Like, that is just what happens when you have the amount of success and the amount of just elite great moments like we're seeing with Lamar and Derrick Henry now, for that matter. That just is what comes with the territory. It's like, this is great, these are awesome wins, you're probably going to win the division, you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to get the first or second seed, whatever it is, and that's awesome. Can you win in the playoffs? Can you win the AFC Championship game? Because if I'm a Ravens fan sitting here watching this, I'm feeling good, I'm excited, I'm like, that's right, Lamar Jackson, MVP, let's go. But I'm also like, okay, this is great, but like, please do this in the playoffs. Please do this in the playoffs. You have a more potent offense. You have the ability to land the bigger punch. Right now, it feels like you have the Lions, the Ravens, and potentially the Vikings, who are the 3 teams right now that seem to me that could have the ability to lay the biggest, loudest, hardest punch. Maybe the Packers. I have to think about that more. Also, it's just a little bit harder because they got off to a weird start because of Jordan Love. But right now, it seems like we're definitely the Lions, right? We saw what they just did against the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions, what they did against the Cowboys. Just a wallop, right? Wallop. And like, when you see what all the things that they can do, you're like, wow. And we see the physicality and the ferociousness of Lamar, of Henry, right? Lamar can run, he can throw. Derrick Henry, a tank, 132 yards, just truly unstoppable. And you're just like, okay, like, they have the ability to really lay on the punch. And it's just like, some of these other teams don't have that. Like the Chiefs, I don't see having that right now. They are definitely more defensive led, because a combination between who they are right now, but also, of course, with injuries with the Chiefs. And so it's just like, can the Ravens come time playoffs lay that punch? Can Derrick Henry rush for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns versus the Chiefs, right? Can he just exhaust that offensive line? Can Lamar Jackson throw for 250 and rush for 80, right? Can he go 18 for 25 for 2 touchdowns versus the Chiefs, no interceptions, right? Like, can they do that? Can they keep leaning on these teams? That is just every game they play, that's just what it's always going to feel like. And again, that just comes with the amount of success, the high levels of success, and the MVPs that Lamar Jackson has had, that's just what comes with that territory. It's the same thing that happened with the Cowboys, right? When they kept having all these games, winning 12 games. It's just like, okay, that's great that you're doing this during the regular season, but not if you then go get dominated by the Packers first round at home. Like, it's just like, okay, because that's the same thing. If the Cowboys came out strong this season and were dominating teams and rolling teams, everybody would still say the same thing. That's awesome. That's great. But can they do it in the playoffs? I've seen this before. And so that is where the skepticism of the Ravens. And as a Ravens fan, you should feel that way as well. Again, you should be excited. You should be encouraged. You should be pumped. You should be motivated. But you should also be like, okay, everyone needs to stay healthy. We need to be smart. We need to clean up a few things here and there. But we got to make sure we do this in the playoffs. We got to be prepared. We have a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. We have a more potent offense than the Kansas City Chiefs. Our running game is better. Our passing game is better. Our quarterback is better right now. So there would be no excuses. There would be no, it's like, you got to get that win. So it's like, what do you need to do? And this is where, if I was the Ravens, I would be going double, triple down on this season. I would say, we're there. We got it. Let's improve. Let's go out and get a Devontae. Can we make a play for Tyreek Hill? Like, I don't know. Tyreek Hill is disgruntled in Miami, right? And again, I'm not talking about salary cap or anything like that, but like, make a play. To talk to the Browns. I know it's in division, but who knows? Talk to the Browns. Maybe you get Amari Cooper. Maybe you get both. Maybe there's a way to add Amari Cooper and Devontae. Just go all in. Do what the Rams did. I've said this before. Do what the Rams did. They went out and got Von Miller. They went out and got OBJ. They don't get both those guys, they do not win a Super Bowl. They just don't. They don't beat the Buccaneers, and they don't beat the Bengals. They just don't. They went out and got Matthew Stafford, right? Like, they literally were like, we need a different quarterback. And they went out and got Stafford. I mean, they made 3 huge moves in less than like 4 months, 5 months. So it's like, if your team is right there on the cusp, make that next decision. Say, we are a great team with a couple smart moves in the next couple weeks, because I think the trade deadline's like November 4th or 5th or whatever it is. Do something to really put you over that hump. Do something that makes this game, rather than 30-23, you win it 42-23. Maybe it's on defense. Maybe it's not just offense. Maybe the offense is good. You got to juice up defense. Maybe it's both. Just go all in. That's what I would want for my team. That's what I would say. Please just take this team to the next level. The team is there. Take it to the next level. Go all in. Because right now, yeah, we could win a Super Bowl. We could win our playoff games and get there. But it's not 100% guaranteed. It's not what we have that 100% confidence. In fact, I still think technically they have it ranked, the Chiefs as the number 1 team. And if you're looking at that, and I know the Chiefs beat the Ravens, if you're looking at how these teams are playing, you're like, man, the Ravens should be undefeated. They should be the team that's 5-0. Not Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So like, what's going on here? So again, it's just locking in and really zooming into what do the Ravens need to do to take everything to that next level. And that's where I'm saying, go all in. The teams that are aggressive, the teams that go all in, are the ones that end up winning, right? They didn't need Juju for the Chiefs. And it's not like Juju was this big splash move, but they went out and got him, and they won a Super Bowl because of it. Like, all these little moves really add up. And they did. They went out and got Derrick Henry, which is awesome. But I think there needs to be more that needs to take place, right? They need that next step to really be like, what do we do? How do we stop this team? How do we score on them? My God. That's what you want to see from the Ravens. Because if the Ravens don't, win in the playoffs, they don't win a Super Bowl, from my viewpoint, at this point of everything that Lamar Jackson has been able to do, and you're riding out the very end of Derrick Henry's true prime years, if at all, if you even can consider him still in his prime, it just would be a massive opportunity lost, right? Every season that you don't bring Lamar to an AFC Championship game, Super Bowl, it's a year lost, right? That should be the window every single year. And so you should be doing everything you possibly can to support that. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, what they were looking like this season, how the game was versus the Commanders, and whether or not he is the MVP? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.